Using the past is very important in the IELTS speaking test in part 1 and 2. One of the key things you have to think about is the variety of different tenses that you might use in the past in speaking. So that's what we're going to focus on today. First of all, you see the little blue line drawing up there. That's the past line. So we're going to compare it to now. So we have the man standing there right now. And then we can compare that to some time in the past. And the little boy drawing up there. Now we've got lots of time markers that we use to indicate to the listener. For example, I remember, in the past, I used to, for example, or recently, as a kid, when I was a kid, back in the day. That's a good idiom, back in the day. 10 years ago, at school. Now coming up underneath the line, we have the different kinds of past that you can use. Now these are for just one set time in the past. 5 common types, and the last 2 are pretty similar really. But let's just go through them. I played football every day. I used to play football. I would play football. I really enjoyed playing football. And I was really into playing football. Now the last 2, as I said, are very similar, but there's slight differences in the middle 2, and we need to discuss them now. Just got the little hand drawing up there to show you that pronunciation connects. So the used to almost sounds like one word. I used to. The D sound completely disappears when we're speaking. I used to. I used to. I used to. Practice that and get used to it. I used to play football. Now those middle 2, to explain them, they clearly mean something in the past that you did frequently that you don't do now. They are good things to use for some activity that you used to do in the past that maybe you don't do now. The would is not used very often by students. So you can use that. So for example, with football would be a good example. I would play football every day, or we would play football every day. The last 2 are using past continuous tenses there. So the 4th one, I really enjoyed playing football, is a good one to use because we're emphasizing the action and the continuous action. Now the past continuous tenses are underused by students. So try using them. Even for one time in the past, you see now we've got 4 or 5 different options that we could use. So now have a go at practicing those different tenses and try using them with these examples that we have here. So cook, draw, run, swim, and read. Notice that the verb form is changing. So it's the easiest one to use is those middle 2, I used to and I would, because then you can just use the simple form of the verb. For the other ones, you're going to have to change it slightly. And really good thing is add a feeling afterwards. So just to add that, this is adding to the complexity of your grammar structure, plus it's adding to your vocab. So you could say, I played football every day and it was simply awesome. Or I played football every day and it was wonderful. Now let's move on and look at a second time event here. Now what we've got to notice here is we're now going to be comparing 2 time points. We're just going to show you this grammar for a start and see if you can understand. Can you understand how that's being used? So now we're using 2 times in the past. Now we need a past time marker and we're talking about something that happened before that. So we've got 2 times in the past and this is called the past perfect. So I need the time marker and then we need to use the auxiliary verb had and then the past participle. And sometimes you quite often have to use an ever or a never. They switch around. So you could say at that point in time, I'd never played football, or I'd never played football when I first went to school. So that refers to all the time before going to school. Now there is another common tense that's used in the past, and that's in terms of past regret. IELTS don't typically ask you a question about past regret because it's a wee bit negative. But you could use it in your answer. And a good one is just the simple past regret. I wish I had played more. Or if only I had played more. The other option there is what we call a mixed conditional. So if I had played more, I would be much better now. And they are quite common that native speakers use mixed conditionals quite often when they're speaking. So they're talking about the past and a past regret and then comparing it to right now. A good example would be also with that was studied. If I'd studied English more, I would be much better now, or I would not have to do the IELTS test right now. Try and use a variety of tenses. You really need to practice them. Go away and try practicing the different kinds of tenses that we've discussed here to talk about the past. If you're one of my online students, I will have sent you a task to do that will specifically try and identify using some of those different tenses. If you're studying by yourself or you're just watching these videos, just try yourself. Think of other ways you could use those tenses in IELTS Part 1 and Part 2 in particular.